I made 2 records for Vanguard in the 90s with a producer named Andrew Williams, and they're a couple of my favorite records, and they were really pretty under the radar. So this is sort of a best of those 2 records done live, and they didn't ask me if they were putting this out. They told me, Omnivore called up, we have a tape of this thing from the Folk Scene radio show, and we're putting it out, and would you like to hear it? You know, and so I heard it. I was like amazed because it sounds, in a way, better than the records. I mean, the records were good, but like this is like the band from the records. Then, like after they have the whole records arranged and made, we just came in and like just knocked it out in the studio, you know, 1 take on everything. But it really kind of flies. So that was cool, and I'm happy that those songs are, you know, getting an airing again because I always felt they were strong. So I'm really happy it's coming out. On the way downtown, Omnivore out in very soon, October 2017.
When do you think you first hit your groove as a songwriter where you're really reflecting more of your own voice than some of the idols that you mentioned, Jagger, Richards, Lennon, McCartney, Bob Dylan?
Well, I think I hit it on, you know, my very first stuff. I mean, like that song on the Plimsolls, How Long Will It Take? That was like a real pure, you know, or when I wrote One Way Ticket for the, I mean, for when I wrote One Way Ticket was a Nerves song, and How Long Will It Take's a lot like the Nerves too. Early Plimsolls was a lot like the Nerves, and in there somewhere I started to make, you know, I'll tell you what happened. Did I ever tell you the story about Hot House Madman? All right. So, like, I have this dream, and this was when I was in the Nerves. And I go to sleep, and I have this dream that I skip out of high school, that I'm in high school, and I skip out of my high school, and right across the street, miraculously, there's this record store I've never seen before. I go in the record store, and I'm going through records in this record store, and John Lennon's right next to me, right here in the record store. And we're going through records, and we get to this one, like he kind of like points at us, and I pull it out, and it's Hot House Madman by the Sargents. And it's got like a cover, and I'm looking at it, and wow, I've never heard this before, you know. And then I take it over, and I ask the guy in the record store to, if he'll play it. And so the guy in the record store in the dream, you know, he puts on the record, and the record starts playing, and it's like this incredible record. It's like a really great, like, you know, just bright red, like rockin' record, you know, kind of just, you know, just a really rockin' record. And I'm about halfway through it in the dream, and all of a sudden I go, I've never heard this song before. This is a completely original song. And I woke up, and I immediately wrote the whole thing down and wrote it. And so, I'm like, well, that was weird, you know. It's a pretty rocking song, so I'm just sitting there playing it for my girlfriend, like, oh, you know, all day. And then the Nerves finally come over that night, you know. She goes, oh, that's the best song you've written. My girlfriend like really likes it, right? So I'm gonna play it for the Nerves, and I played it for them, and they're really digging it. They like the music, but then Jack goes, you know, so what's this Hot House Madman? What's that mean? I'm like, well, you know. I don't actually know, see, because it's in this dream. Like, nobody explained anything in a dream. They just do it. But, like, you know, I wrote, all the words were right off the thing. I mean, I woke right up and just wrote the whole thing down. And so I kind of know what it is, but Jack goes, and I was sort of the low man on the totem pole in the Nerves in a certain way, you know, and it was like, you always had to struggle to get your songs past the guys into the band, you know. And so I'm like, he's like, well, if you rewrite those lyrics, we'll do it, you know, because it's a great song, you know. So I go home, and I get at a table, and I'm sitting in this, like, you know, my cheap apartment up in, you know, on Wilton in L.A., and I just start, I have a typewriter and a guitar, you know, and I sit there, and I'm trying to rewrite a lyric with the same meter so that it fits into the music of Hot House Madman. And I'm writing all these lyrics, but every time I get to the chorus on Hot House Madman goes, Hot House Madman, you know, there's nothing, and I start to realize, after like struggling, that there's really nothing else you can say in English that sounds any good, 2 syllables and 2 syllables in that kind of melody, except Hot House Madman. Everything else sounds terrible. And so it was really discouraging. So I'm sitting there, I'm writing, I'm trying to write, I've written versions of trying different things and all this stuff, and I find I'm getting sick of it, and then I start writing the song just to goof off from trying to write Hot House Madman, and I write the song One Way Ticket. So I put that off to the side. I got to quit goofing off, get back to Hot House Madman. And then I get about, you know, tired of it again, and I go, I'm just going to write it. And I start fooling around the guitar. I write everyday things. I put that aside. You know, I feel like I'm goofing off. I wrote the whole Plimsolls' first, you know, album trying to rewrite Hot House Madman. So I forget what the question was, but then Hot House Madman, I never did rewrite it because you can't. And then years later, I went solo, and T-Bone Burnett handed me this lyric one day that he'd written about Marshall Crenshaw and him having a fight. It's called Echo Wars. They were fighting about the echo. Crenshaw wanted slap, and T-Bone wanted reverb. And they were having a beef, and I walked in the middle of it. T-Bone's like super angry, he's a super, he knows what he wants, and he doesn't want to like hear any guff. So, so he hands me this lyric and set this to music and walks out of the studio. And I sit down to the guitar and I just start playing Hot House Madman, and I sing the whole thing like that. And but slow. I slowed it down. So like the riff on Echo Work is like boom down, ba down, down, ba down, and Hot House Madman is like boom down, na 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 na. So I just slowed it down, and then the break in the middle was the guitar solo. Boom, boom, ba da da da. Echo Wars never die. Well, that was the solo on Hot House Madman. Boom, boom, ba boom, 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 boom. So it's all the same except different. And that song finally did get the light of day. But Hot House Madman still hasn't been recorded, but I'm thinking of doing a record of Peter Kay sings The Nerves and Plimsolls, and doing a bunch of weird songs that people haven't heard. Maybe I'll put that up. Hot House Madman on there.
Rock Cellar TV, 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 Rock Cellar TV.